Isaiah chapter 58 and verse 1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins.
Copyright disclaimer. This content does not belong to Bible Chronicles or claim this intellectual property. The content provided today has and always will belong to the content owner. Bible Chronicles does not have any affiliation with the owner of this property. As mentioned, Bible Chronicles did not intend to make use of any material for the purpose of harvesting gain. However, Title 17 of United States copyright law states material in use can only be done when it's for theological or general educational purposes, and thus Bible Chronicles believes that this principal material falls under fair use, which honors protection under Section 107 of the same U.S. copyright law.
Del mar los vieron llegar, mis hermanos emplumados serán los hombres barbados de la profecía esperada. Se oyó la voz del monarca de que el Dios había llegado y les abrimos la puerta. Por temor a lo ignorado, iban montados en bestias, como demonios del mal, iban con fuego en las manos y cubiertos de metal. Solo el valor de unos cuantos les opuso resistencia, y al mirar correr la sangre se llenaron de vergüenza, porque los dioses ni comen ni gozan con lo robado. Y cuando nos dimos cuenta, ya todo estaba acabado, y en ese error entregamos la grandeza del pasado, y en ese error nos quedamos 300 años esclavos. Se nos quedó el maleficio de brindar al extranjero nuestra fe, nuestra cultura, nuestro pan, nuestro dinero, y le seguimos cambiando oro por cuentas de vidrio, y damos nuestras riquezas por sus espejos con brillo. Siglo XX nos siguen llegando rubios y les abrimos la casa y los llamamos amigos, pero si llega cansado un indio de andar la sierra, lo lo vemos como extraño por su tierra. Tú, hipócrita que te muestras humilde ante el extranjero, pero te vuelves soberbio con tus hermanos del pueblo. Oh, maldición de Malinche, enfermedad del presente, ¿cuándo dejarás mi tierra? ¿Cuándo harás libre a mi gente?
Y va de nuevo, mi
Viene a decirnos con mucha firmeza y gran convencimiento, lo mismo que nos decía en el siglo XVIII el barón de Holbach, ¿no? un filósofo francés de origen alemán. Si nos remontamos al comienzo, entonces hallaremos que la ignorancia y el temor crearon a los dioses. La fantasía, el entusiasmo o el engaño los adornaron o desfiguraron. La debilidad les rinde culto, la credulidad los conserva, la costumbre los respeta y la tiranía los apoya para que la ceguera de los hombres sirva a sus propios intereses.
Okay. Here we go. What up, family? Okay, man. Okay. What up, brother? I had to do this late one. It's just I had to do it, man. I've been pondering this topic for a while. And you know me, family, I don't have a narrative. I do the research. So this time around, I was looking at things, I could say logically, without influence. Because, you know, you have to examine yourself, right? And you kind of want to know where you're at in this walk. And I started asking myself, man, well, how Christian am I? Because in reality, every religion, almost every religion practically, has branched out of the Catholic Christian doctrine. Every single one of them. And that includes BHI, that includes Islam, all of that shit. More BHI. Because think about that. We're going to look at this in a different kind of like from a different perspective, the opposite perspective. I know some of you guys ain't gonna like it, man. Some of you are gonna be offended with what I'm gonna share with you. But I'm just gonna throw these things out there as questions because we gotta really look at them now. We have to really look at them now. So before we go any further, let me get going. What up, bro? Because I don't know, man. It's like too much information out there. Well, we're gonna be ignorant now. No. Especially now is when we have to question it the most. Especially in these times. So without further ado, let me begin. I got this for you guys. This is interesting. I'm gonna show you guys some material, videos, and then maybe a video. All right, let's go.
Good evening, godless sodomites. I'm bringing the truth, John. We're in Hollywood, the belly of the beast.
Reality television celebrates the human condition.
Listen.
It warps the minds of our children and weakens the resolve of our allies.
The results are often dramatic and always unexpected. We're here to honor achievement in that category.
By giving you a golden idol to worship. Kneel before your God, Babylon!
Do you get it? You understand?
I'm very honored to be able to receive this amazing award from the depths of my soul. From the depths of my soul.
Why is your hand over your eye?
Because I'm a devil worshiper. What are you talking about?
We've all
All right,
seen
well, I have
that.
tickets to see the devil worshiper.
I'd like to thank the devil and all the dark lords.
Murder was the case. I want my shit to be about cutting a deal with the devil, then getting sentenced to the pen. Then the shit happened.
Bring your lifestyle to me, I make it better.
And how long will life live?
Eternal life and forever.
Also parts in the album where you speak to Lucy. Lucifer.
Yeah.
The devil. So you
Yeah, man.
That one, you don't know that Lucy got you all your life. I watched you, and now you all grown up to sign this contract. If that's possible,
If you don't get this right now, I swear to Lucifer, I'm gonna. Did you sell your soul yet?
I'ma bring the cold. I sold my soul to the devil, and the price was cheap.
If I could go back, I never would have rapped. I sold my soul to the devil, I'll never get it back.
I'm in trouble, get a deal with the devil now. Pleaded with him, like give me my soul.
To have my first record ever and selling my soul to Hollywood Records.
I sold my soul a good price, out of sight.
Biggest rumor though now that I sold my soul to Satan.
I gotta sell my soul.
But that was a thing for a minute. Juice WRLD sold his soul, right?
Yeah. Man, he trying to sell his soul, man. Look, dude selling his soul. They ain't take too long. Illuminati, man.
Did I sell my soul? I sold my soul for you.
Sold my soul to the devil. Well, needless to say, sold my soul.
Thank you to Satan for giving me inspiration on how to play this role.
Have we sold our soul to the devil? How else can you explain us being here?
Pay close attention to this video.
So we see what they say, right? Let me show you this. This is from Bible Dictionary, 1972, right? So this gets interesting because I had done a class on this name Odin it's Wooden, right? But let's continue in that vein. Sunday. Where does that come from? The name Sunday is derived from pagan sources, dividing the calendar into 7 weeks, 7-day weeks with the works of the Babylonian astrologers. From then, the plan went into Egypt, where the days were named for planets, one for the sun. By 250 AD, this method of reckoning time had become well established throughout the civilized world. You can reference that book. After Christianity had been planted in Northern Europe, the Teutonic people substituted the names of their gods for Egyptian titles. So we have Twice Day as Tuesday, Woodon's Day as Wednesday. Woodon's Day.
Are you?
I've done some classes on that not too long ago. And then Thor Day as Thursday. But first it continued to be called Sun's Day. Sun's Day. Sun apostrophe S. Largely because Emperor Constantine, by royal decree in 321, made it Solstice Day. Day of the sun. Don't forget that. Day of the sun. Sun Day. Check this out. Who's this wooden? Who's this wooden character? See, this is Odin or Wooden. Mythology, so-called mythology from the north. Here's what I find interesting. It says that the German name for the day, Mittwoch, literally midweek, replaced the former name Wodenstag or Woden's Day in the 10th century. Similarly, the Yiddish, pay attention to this, word for Wednesday is Midvak, which is basically Midvak, I guess. That's how you say it, Midvak. Midvak. That's German. So see, Yiddish is German, basically, meaning and sounding a lot like the German word it came from. It's kind of clear in this. Anyways, the reason I showed you this was this is where, we get this name changing. And then Sunday, Constantine, you're going to see that often today. And something to do with Solus. Look, man, these are just questions that I want to put out there now. Because, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's kind of weird. I think when you guys see what I see, you may agree. You may just see what I see. Okay. This is from a book that I've showed you guys before. It's page 165. The Druidism. Okay. I've showed you guys this before. The Ancient Faith of Britain. Now, on page 165, let me invite you to what it says. And we need to pay attention to this closely. Real closely, because this has to do with your, I think I could say maybe faith and what you believe in. We have to analyze everything that we're reading and believing. This is a serious question. Check this out. On page 165, yeah, I'll take you here. Let's just read it here. Valentine says that among the Irish, Hollow Mass Day is known as Samhain. That November was a month of mourning, being the season appointed by the Druids for the solemn intercession for the intercession of the quick for the souls of the dead, or those that had departed this life within the space of a year. The first day of November was dedicated to the angel presiding over the fruits, seeds, basically October 31st or November 1st or 2nd. Was therefore named Lamas Usal, the day of the apple fruit, and being pronounced Lamasul had been corrupted into Lamsbul, a name given to the composition made on this eve of roasted apple sugars and ale. The festival lasted until the beginning of December, which month was named Nalog, or the month of the newborn, from the Hebrew word Nola, to bring forth young. Hence the French word Noel, and the Irish Nolag, or Christmas Day. Now, in case you guys don't remember, there's a song called Noel. Noel, you know, Noel, that shit. Noel. It's very, very popular name. Now, if we skip, you'll see on the bottom it says, so great was the hold of these ceremonies upon the people that the Christian priests were unable to abolish them. Let me read this to you. This is where it gets interesting. So great was the hold of these ceremonies upon the people that the Christian priests were unable to abolish them and therefore transfer them to Christian observance. Thus, St. John the Baptist day came, hold on, page 66, to be observed by the building up of the large fires of which bones form part of the constituents, I guess. Let me skip to, I'll skip here. The observance of the Judaical New Year on the 10th of March, well, here, I'll start here. The festival of the 25th of December also was celebrated by the Druids, both in Great Britain and Ireland, with great fires lighted on the tops of the hills, which were red lighted 12 days afterwards on what is known as the Feast of Epiphany. Mistletoes were involved. So we see that this Christian celebration of Christmas was a solemn practice among the Druids. Okay? Now, this is from, let me see if I have the window up. No, I don't. Hold on. Let me close this. Let me show you this book. This is a book called the New Scab Herzog Encyclopedia of Religious Knowledge, embracing the biblical, doctrinal, and practical theology, or biblical and theological and ecclesiastical biography from the earliest times to the present day, 1908. We're going to get into the word Christmas. I'm making some points here. Christmas, the supposed anniversary of the birth of Jesus Christ, occurring on December 25th. No sufficient data, however, exists for the determination of the month or the day of the event. See this here? Efforts to reach a fixed date for Zechariah's administration and to combine this with the 6-month mentioned in connection with the Annunciation of Mary has given no assured results. So he's kind of saying some people given hypotheses based on certain days, supposedly. It says Hippolytus seems to have been the first to fix upon December 25th. He's the first one, supposedly. If you look through here, it literally tells you like what exactly is going on at this time regarding Christmas. So-called. Let me show you something real quick. This is from a link I have here. Bible Tools regarding truth about Christmas. So he's kind of going through this whole what encyclopedia says about Christmas. Okay? Let me just read this to you real quick. It says here, Christmas was not among the earliest festivals of the church. The first evidence of the feast is from Egypt. Pagan customs centering around the January calends gravitated to Christmas. We're going to see why. We're going to see why exactly Jesus is not born on December 25th. Jesus was not even born in the winter season. You see? But I want you to focus on the fact that this wasn't common. And we're going to run into this too, probably. And the actual encyclopedia we were reading out of, okay? The Scav Herzog, right? It says here, let's see, explains clearly in its article on Christmas how much the date of the festival depended upon the pagan Brumalia, December 25th, following the Saturnalia, December 17th through the 24th, and celebrating the shortest day in the year and the new sun. So you can see that this Christian practice has an obvious pagan root. Okay? Now we've talked about this before. This is nothing new. But I'm going to take you further. I'm going to take you further now into this. Because we see them. We see Christians celebrate this shit and do this shit, right? And they stand they stand on the New Testament ground. Well, we're going to get into that too. Because I got questions for that as well. I mean, man, it gets to the point, bro, where you want nothing to do with Christianity whatsoever. You guys are wicked ass people. Seriously. Especially you evangelicals. Cannot be accurately determined. The pagan Saturnalia and Brumalia were too deeply entrenched in the popular custom to be set aside by the Christian influence. The pagan festival, with its riot and merry-making, was so popular that the Christians were glad of an excuse to continue its celebration with little change in spirit and in manner. Christian preachers of the West and Near East protested against the unseemly frivolity with which Christ's birth was celebrated, while the Christians of Mesopotamia accused their Western brethren of idolatry and sun worship for adopting as Christians this pagan festival. And we're gonna see a video that talks about this whole division at this point, but where they must come to a unity at one point. And that's where you get Christianity. You know, after Constantine. It's clear here that this birth date, however you want to look at it, had everything to do with the sun worshiping concept, the sun god. That's really what it was always about. It's always been about that. Sol Victus, we're going to look at some pictures, is a prime example of what I'm fucking saying. But remember, these people had grown up in pagan customs, chief of which was this idolatrous festival of December 25th. It was a festival of merrymaking. With its special spirit, they enjoyed it. They didn't want to give it up. Now, this same article in the same book that we're talking about explains how the recognition by Constantine of Sunday, which had been the day of pagan sun worship, Sunday, and how the influence of pagan Manichaeism, which identified the Son of God with the physical sun. See what I'm saying? Gave these pagans of our 4th century, now turning over wholesale to Christianity, their excuse for calling their pagan festival day of December 25th. Now, a lot of us will probably be like, well, yeah, man, I already know that, that's old news. No. But see, you're not being patient. You need to really sit back and figure out what I'm going to show you. because this is probably going to offend your ass so much that you may unsubscribe. And that is how Christmas became fasting on our Western world. You see, if you're able to create these sorts of things around this particular belief, then you have to start questioning the source that they're using to use these things. And what other source are they questioning? I mean, are they using the New Testament? So today, right now, I guess in a sense, I'm kind of questioning the New Testament. Because I'm going to show you how there's a lot of, look, I'm just going to show you. You know what I mean? I'm just going to show you. That's all I ever do. The real origin of Christmas. Let me see if I can read a little bit from this. If not, I'll go through. Let's read from here to here. Okay, it says here, from many ancient writings, considerable is learned of this man who started the great organized worldly apostasy from God that has dominated the world until now. Nimrod was so evil, it is said he married his own mother, whose name was Semiramis. After Nimrod's untimely death, his so-called mother wife, Semiramis, propagated the evil doctrine of the survival of Nimrod as a spirit being. She claimed a full-grown evergreen tree sprang overnight from a dead tree stump, which symbolized the spinning forth onto the new life of the dead Nimrod. On each anniversary of his birth, she claims Nimrod would visit the evergreen tree and leave gifts upon it. December 25th was the birthday of Nimrod. This is the real origin of the Christmas tree. Through her scheming and designing, Semiramis became the Babylonian queen of heaven, and Nimrod, under various names, became the divine son of heaven. Through the generations in this idolatrous worship, Nimrod became the false Messiah, son of Baal, the sun god. And this false Babylonian system, the mother and child, Semiramis and Nimrod, reborn, became chief objects of worship, the mother and child. Once again, Padre Hijo. And God is forgotten. We're seeing it again. This worship of mother and child spread over the world. The names varied in different countries and languages. In Egypt, it was Isis and Osiris. In Asia, Cybele and Dionysus. In pagan Rome, Fortuna and Jupiter. Even in Greece, China, Japan, Tibet, it is to be found the counterpart of the Madonna long before the birth of Christ. Right? Whew. Let me see if I can show you something real quick. Give me a second. Let me read this to you. I want to show this to you. I think this is important. This is from the newadvent.org, Catholic encyclopedia, basically. Okay. So this is what I did. I went here, and then I clicked on G. Then I clicked on, where are you? Hold on. I clicked on Gospel and Gospels. So now this is interesting. Okay? Look at this explanation. This is crazy. It says here. So that's why I say we have to really pay attention to what we are reading and believing in. And this goes for me too. The word gospel usually designates as a written records of Christ's words and deeds. It is very likely derived from the Anglo-Saxon god good and spell, to tell. Good spell. Gospel. A good spell, you're under a spell. And is generally treated as an abstract equivalent to the Greek evangelium. I want you to pay attention to what it's going to say here. It says the first 4 historical books of the New Testament are supplied with titles. Evangelium Kata Matthaian, like, it's talk about Matthew, Luke, Mark, and John, right? Which, however ancient, do not go back to their respective authors of those sacred writings. Like what?
Who are you?
And forgive me, maybe I'm just, illiterate like that. It hasn't been that long. But I guess I had to read this myself. So the first 4 books of the New Testament, they're however old, they don't come from the authors themselves. Basically saying that Matthew didn't write Matthew, Luke didn't write Luke, Mark didn't write Mark, John didn't write John. Or should I say it as a statement? As we go further into this, session here, you're going to see what I'm talking about. And it's not me questioning you, brothers, or anything, man. It's just look, first of all, I forgot to show you this video. But I've been saying this for a while. And again, I kind of look at it like this. If you can create a lot of doctrines of these books, then we need to look at the book. You know what I mean? We need to look at the book. A lot of crazy shit's coming out of this, like the New Testament. A lot of crazy, wicked ass religions are using the New Testament. So I'm like, okay, well, let me look at the New Testament then. Not just look at the Bible, like actually look into history. Not just look at what they present to you, giving us the history of what's in the Bible, but outside of the book of the New Testament, where it came from, blah, 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 all these things. And then, me, man, I start researching and I'm like, what the fuck? That's exactly what I'm going to show you. What the fuck? I'm not in this in this, I don't know, man. I'm not in this just to fucking be cool, bro. Like I really do care about doing the right thing. So you see this. Okay, so hold up. Like what the fuck? What? The origin? They don't go back to them. Okay. So let me continue with this, okay? I don't want to lose you on that. I just want to give you a glimpse of where this is going to go. Because we're approaching these so-called holidays again. And a lot of us, I think, me, myself, I sat here and criticized, so-called Christians, but yet I still, in a way, believe what Christians believe. So I have to reflect on that. Like, wait, hold on a second. Am I still a fucking Christian? Am I just a branch out of Christianity? You get what I'm saying? Have I been just a branch out of Christianity? Because I had to reflect on it. What am I really? Am I believing like a Christian? I just don't agree with everything they say. Well, I don't do everything they do. I mean, shit, man. Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate holidays. You know what I'm saying? But they're still a branch of Christianity.
A ver, que alguien me explique.
But see, I think we. I mean, I've shared this enough already. The whole point of Christmas. The whole point of Christmas. For me, these two things stood out. Good spell, and the first 4 historical books, however ancient, do not go back to the respective authors of the sacred writings, meaning that Matthew, Luke, Mark, and John are not the authors of Matthew, Luke, Mark, and John. Now, I need you to understand what I'm saying, fam, because I've been a defender of this book. But at the same time, giving life to Christianity at the same way, because I don't know, man. Look, let me just continue showing you, because this is weird, bro. It's like when you start really looking at this stuff, like, what the fuck? Check this out. The page 97, I believe. Let me go back up here. Is it 197 or 97? No, 97. Hold on. Nah, it's not 97 here, dude. It's somewhere else. Hold on a second, family. If I can't find it, it's no big deal. It's like I start wondering, how is it that wicked people can hold on to something that should, you know what I mean? Like they should burn them in a way, you know, not necessarily physically, but like, how the fuck does wickedness surround certain things that you would think they should not be around or surrounded by those things? You would think not. You would think, how the fuck do they work in your favor in one way or another? Right, so what are we looking at? What exactly are we reading? Hold on, fam. Sorry, my bad. Maybe I passed it a long time ago. It's all good. Let me show you this, though. Because this is, I think, where we start getting really serious about sincere topics. And it's not just Christmas, because, you know, when you look at Christmas, yeah, that's something they created. Yeah. But you know what? It's more than just Christmas. It's more than just Christmas. It's more than the things that are being done outside of this book or these books that somehow, some way don't originate back to the authors. At least I'm dealing with the first 4 books right now. It says here on the, oh, my bad. The book is called Scotland, page 2007. Just found this to be very interesting. On page 22, it says this regarding Constantine, brand of Christianity, right? It says here, contrary to traditional belief, Emperor Constantine the Great, between 274 through 337 AD, did not embrace Christianity as a religion of Rome. Rather, he adapted Christianity into a new form that was actually related to the Syrian Sol Invictus. Yes, that's true. Cult of sun worship. Constantine redefined Jesus' birthday to comply with the Sun Festival of December 25th. This is why it's important that I went here first, because there's a reason for that. And substituted the sacred Sabbath Saturday with the Sunday. The high points of Judeo-Christianity were conveniently merged with pagan tradition, which when you really, because see, I've read it. I've read the New Testament several times. So when I'm looking at some of these pagan traditions, that not people don't just practice, that is actually being said in this book or these books, you're like, what the fuck? The Persian cult of the Mithra, which stressed the concept of final judgment. And then that's not all, folks. Sol Invictus. Let me show you something real quick. I'll just have to come back to it. This is from a book that I have. I think I'm going to show you. I'm pretty sure I have it here. I think it's called Two Kingdoms. Page 50 something. Evolution of the picture of Christ. A pagan feature of the sun. That's not Christ, so-called Jesus. That's the Roman tradition of their idol. The face of the coin of Constantine. And then to the right, that's number 4. It says, number 3. He's talking about the coin. The reverse of the same coin showing a standing figure of the sun with rays from the head, right here, holding a globe in the left hand, pointing to the meridian with the right, with the inscription, Soli Invicto Comiti, the sun my invincible ally. And the 4 means a pretended picture of Christ, which is clearly but a combination of 1 and 3, showing the head and shoulders of the sun. Figure 1, see, basically he's talking about these two. That's it. Give me a second. Let me go back to the 26 before I forget. Hold on, fam. I just want to leave it there in case I forget. Okay, here we go. Okay. So we see this Sol Invictus, right? Check this out. I think this is 508. Yeah, there it goes right here. Check this out. So this is from the book, The Two Kingdoms, right? On page 508, the ruins of the Roman Empire, Son of Righteousness, SUN. Sorry, that's, I don't want to get off. Oh, hold on. Let me see something. Matalis Evictus Solis, same concept. It was a Mithra practice, and I think we're going to see that further down. Oh, don't freeze on me. Come on. We're going to see this further down. On page 508, watch what it says. It says, the images and pictures which had formerly represented the sun were adopted and transformed into representations of Christ. You see, the images and pictures which had formerly represented the sun were adopted, and transformed into representations of Christ. How easily this was accomplished can be discerned by an examination of the accompanying illustration. And such was the origin of the pictures of Christ, and especially of the nimbus and halo around the heads of them. Talk about this right here, which is the picture I showed you earlier. And by the way, this is all a lot of Catholic practices is Mithra, which is basically what you guys are. And again, you know what? I want to rephrase that, because if I'm still a branch out of Christianity, that means I'm still dealing with your book. And I need to really sincerely ask myself that question. And I'm going to show you guys why I'm asking myself that question. Because I don't run from like, I don't know, man. Other people probably wouldn't even continue. You know what I'm saying? Like, sun worship of Augustus and Elagabalus. Okay, so we see that here. A lot of sun worshiping involved. It's a Mithra practice tradition. Okay. Give me a second. Oh, that's right. I passed it. Come on, bro. Come on, dude. All right. So we got, oh, now I passed it. Okay. We're going to go to 213. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Okay, here we go. 213. Slow-po. 213. Let's read this. What? Oh, come on, man. Apparently there's a problem with this. I may have to close one of these. Hold on a second, fam. I may have to close one of these. Give me a moment. Come on, man. Let's go, bro. Okay, here we go. Here we go. I think it's going to let us. What? Okay, here we go. You're going to let us read it now? Going to let us read it. Okay. 213. Others with great regard to good matters, it must be confessed, suppose that the sun is the God of the Christians, because it is a well-known fact that we pray towards the east, and because we make Sunday a day of festivity. What then? Do you do less than this? Do not many among you, within affectations of sometimes worshiping the heavenly bodies, likewise move your lips in the directions of the sunrise? It is you, at all events, who have admitted the sun into the calendar of the week, and you have selected its day, its preference to the preceding day, as the most suitable of the week for either an entire abstinence from the bath, or for its postponement until the evening, or for taking rest and banqueting. So you can see why. Look, I think a lot of us have seen this stuff. But I think a lot of us weren't willing to say, what the fuck? What are you saying, bro? What are you saying, bro? So check this out. I have this book here. Is it up? What's going on, bro? What's going on, bro? No, hold on, I have it. Let me close this other one. I don't think I need that one anymore. Watch this. This one's in Spanish, and it's an old one. Imagen de la Virgen María. They're justifying the Virgin Mary image. It's written in 1648. So check this out. And it blew my mind because I happened to have a picture of this in my phone, and I was searching for the word soul on my phone, and I found it. And I remember this book. So it says here, you're going to see the word soul used in a lot of different ways. It's basically talking about the image of the Virgin Mary, right? Fundamento de la historia. Dice, siempre que contemplaba la santa imagen de la Virgen María, Madre de Dios de Guadalupe, mi señora, no solamente en las continuas asistencias de su santuario, sino en los efectuos aclamaciones de mi corazón se me representaba la imagen, blah, blah, blah. You know, you see what I'm saying? So it's talking about this. It's basically, you know, imposing the concept of the Virgin Mary. Here's where it gets interesting here. It says here on page 6, estaba la mujer vestida de sol. See? And then, as I'm reading, check this out. Que había de gozar en rayos de otro sol verdadero y lucido con eficaces calores. Oh, I think so. Let me see this. Y lucido con eficaces calores, pues Cristo Sol divino misericordiosamente había de alumbrarla. Cristo Sol? Christ Son? Is that what we're doing now? This is in 1648. So even they called him Cristo Sol. Cristo puso en el sol su aliento o su asiento, something to that effect. And now again, I just find it so awkward that it's like, I remember growing up, my mom would tell me who you socialize with, and I'll tell you who you are. Yeah, okay. And I'm like, bro, you guys are, okay. It says, en el sol estaba significado Cristo. You see that? En el sol estaba significado Cristo, basically. And you know, I translated some of these words from Italian to English, or Latin, I'm sorry, to English. And it's basically the same concept. En el sol estaba significado Cristo. Basically, you could see Christ in the sun itself. What are we talking about? And not just Christ, not supposedly Christ. It was also the Virgin Mary. If I can see it. Let me show you this video. Here it goes.
La Virgen de Guadalupe no bajó del cielo. Fue el invento más divino del imperio para someter con fe a los los mexicas, aztecas, otomis, chichimecas, etc.
New Pope's prayer at the Vatican, his translator claimed Mary to be God.
And let us ask for this special grace from Mary, our God.
After all, who can blame the translator, since many Catholics, if not all, literally worship Mary?
The worship of any other than the true and living God is to worship a demon. You don't get to God by making an idol and doing the best you can.
The Roman Catholic Church teachings and doctrines will not lead you to believe otherwise, because they elevate Mary at the level of deity.
If her eyes are upon you, your salvation is assured. Now, think what that means. It means if she turns her gaze from you, you're toast.
Lucifer is a Latin name given to Satan by the Vatican. The Vatican's Douay-Rheims Bible commentary calls Lucifer the prince of devils. The Hebrew Bible simply calls Satan a false angel of light, a shining one. Lucifer in Latin means light bearer, not morning star. Satan Lucifer operates right under St. Peter's Basilica in Mausoleum U of the Vatican necropolis. The Vatican depicts Lucifer as a white rider on a white horse, as described in Revelation 6:2, the Roman Antichrist beast, conquering the world with false peace. Every Easter, their Pope invokes Satan right above Satan's office under St. Peter's Basilica.
Flammas eius, Lucifer matutinus inveniat. Ille inquam Lucifer qui nescit occasum, Christus filius tuus, qui regressus ab inferis, humano generis serenus illuxit, et tecum vivit et regnat in saecula saeculorum.
Now you know, the Vatican Christ is the son of Lucifer. The Vatican Trinity is the first person, their father Lucifer, the father of lies; the second person, the son of Lucifer, their false Christ, their vicar of Christ; the third person, their Holy Ghost, that is, their holy demon.
Many holidays, including Christmas, Easter, Halloween, and Valentine's Day, have pagan origins tied to ancient fertility rituals and sacrifices. These festivals were linked to seasonal changes, marking equinoxes and solstices. Halloween, Samhain, Sudfu Hamri, signed on October 31st, was a time of honoring the dead and making offerings. Valentine's Day, Lupercalia, on February 14th, involved sacrifices and raffling women for intimacy, leading to conception. Easter, rooted in fertility worship, followed in March or April, marking a time when pregnancies from earlier rituals would be evident. Christmas, originally Saturnalia Yule, falls on December 25th, aligning with the birth of children conceived during previous pagan festivals. This would link the cycles were designed so that children born from ritualistic unions would later be sacrificed in latter festivals. Because of their unholy origins and ties to false gods,
Man. That's not even all, bro. That's not even all. Let me close this up. I've showed this to you guys before. Okay. These are certain, well, they find parts of the Gospels or found parts, right? So in this book, it's showing us only the 4 Gospels. A translation of the four Gospels from the Syriac of the Sinaiticus Palimpsest. This is from 1894. I've shared this book with you guys before. I looked through it all. Well, for the most part. And just going to show you I'm just going to let it speak for itself. I was astonished, I guess you could say. That's for lack of better words. I think it was worse. I couldn't really believe it. And then you find out later on that, like we read earlier, these came way later. They came way later, and they're not complete. So what I did is I went through the, let's say you could say I didn't read every single word for word. I skimmed through, you could say, of summarizing. But then when I would notice something awkward, then I would stop. Now we do see here, and appreciate the brothers that suggested this. I'm sure you're probably looking at it different than me. Maybe you're looking at it the same way, man. I don't know. I haven't talked to them after this. But here we see that, unlike the other translations, it says here that Jacob begot Joseph. Joseph, to whom was betrothed Mary, the virgin, begot Jesus. The other translations don't say that. Don't say that Joseph begot Jesus. They say Mary, but not Jesus. And I understand now why. Because they want the virgin birth. But that's not the purpose of me showing this. Just one thing. Here is why this is when things started kind of pausing for a moment for me. When you go through this book, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, okay? There are some parts that are that are missing. Like, for example, on Matthew chapter 8, I believe. Chapter 9, chapter 7. It says that from Matthew chapter 6, verse 10, through Matthew chapter 8, verse 3, is on pages which have been lost from the original before John the Recluse used it in 778 AD. So in 778 AD is when they, I guess, made the adjustments to add chapter 6, 10 through chapter 8, 3. Basically, chapter 7 is missing. So it just skips. It goes from 5, skips 6 practically, doesn't have 7, missing 8, a little bit of it. I have a problem with that. I don't know about you, but I do. And then, not too far further, in many parts of this page, the writings have been completely scraped out with the knife. Matthew again. Now, Matthew 9 is missing verse 1, 2, 3, 4, basically, and some of the words in 5. No explanation. Same chapter, 10, 11, and maybe 1/3 of 12 is missing. Verse 34 is missing. Chapter 9. It's not just a few, it's like a lot. Let's see what else. Oh, Chapter 11, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Basically, verses, about 6 verses, they're missing. Look at all this. The end of chapter 11, choppy. The beginning of chapter 12, choppy as hell as well. From verse 1 through 12, maybe 11, sorry. Like, you know. And I'm trying to go through these quickly so I don't kind of, because I was going to say more things based on certain stuff that I had seen, but I just want to get to the point. Chapter 15, I'm sorry, it says here that chapter 16 through verse 15 through chapter 17, verse 11 is lost. What the fuck?
Que alguien me explique. Who are you?
Verse 21, gone. That's just Matthew. That's just Matthew. Chapter 20, 25, chapter 21 through 20, lost. What do you mean? Choppy. I know a lot of you guys are wondering, what am I saying? What's my point? Well, look what I'm fucking showing. Chapter 26, 1 through 17 verses, basically gone. Who made it look all pretty and nice for us? Where nothing's missing. Who decided to put those words? Lost, verse 8, I guess. Mark, this is even more interesting. Verse 1 through 11 are lost in Mark, in the first chapter. Verse 44 and on through chapter 2, verse 20, lost in Mark. Verse 17 through 41, lost in Mark. Verse 25 through chapter 6, verse 5, lost. Sorry, verse 27, my bad. Well, I just wanted to, I want to show this to you, man, because this should matter to you. We say we ain't Christians, but when you see the stuff that I found, like, you're gonna be like, what the fuck? And that's just stuff that's missing from books that officially, historically, did come 100 years later or so, that were not written by these poor individuals. If that offends you, then don't hate the messenger, hate the message. Who are we to judge if we have flaws in this fucking so-called belief? Verse 29 through verse 11, between chapter 5 and 6, are gone. Who am I to judge, bro? Look at this. Missing. Choppy. Wheel of Fortune. Might as well play Wheel of Fortune on this shit. Missing. Where are we at? We're in Luke now. choppy. Luke is a little bit less missing in pages, I guess you could say. I saw that. What is this? And then when you realize how a lot of similar words like dove, baptism, what is it? Baptism, water. I said dove already. Yeah, I did. Like when you start looking at like some of the stuff that other pagans were doing, then you're like, what? It's in there. It's actually literally saying the same shit they're saying. Look, I mean, come on. This is in the book of John. Matter of fact, I think the book of John, the first part of John is missing. Hold on. Yeah, look, check it out. This is it. This is what I'm telling you. The first book of John, verse 1 through 24. It's fucking lost. Once again, I bring your attention to the word gospel. It's an Anglo-Saxon word called good spell. Why? Because the first historical books of the New Testament are supplied with titles, blah, 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 which, however ancient, do not go back to the respective authors of the sacred writings. You see this? They do not go back to the authors of the sacred writings, meaning that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John did not write. But I do find in that book, or not, yeah, just in that book, or in, I guess you could say, in the traditions, but it's also in there, is Mithra practices and words and concepts. So I have to really wonder what are we doing here? Let me see if I can show you this. This is from Iranian Religions and Beliefs, Mithraism. Okay. Because this is basically what Romans would practice. Mithra is a prototype to Roman Mithras, to whom there are several hymns in Hindu and Zoroastrian holy texts. Right? So you see that. It has like Greco-Roman magical ideas and infusions of Hinduism. Okay. Watch this real quick. Roman Mithras was perhaps the greatest rival to early Christianity for many reasons. As well as being a popular pagan religion practiced by Roman army, Mithraism had many similarities. I want you to pay attention. Because it's not just the customs that people applied that read the book, the New Testament, and said, oh, I'm just going to make this stuff up. No, there's other things that are in there. So it's missing information, and then it's got particular practices as well. Mithraism has many similarities to Christianity. Mithra, watch this. Mithras was born of a virgin, remained celibate. His worship involving baptism. The partaking of bread marked with the cross, and a wine as sacrificial blood. What the fuck? Give me a second. I want you to let that sink in. Listen to what it says. Bread and wine. Baptism, bread, and wine. I'm going to show you something, family. Because I don't bring lies to you guys. In the New Testament, or all over the Bible, okay? Type in baptism. Watch this. You only find baptism in the New Testament. You don't find it anywhere else. So this is where I was like, what? We understand this whole concept here, born of virgin. Yeah, okay, cool. But then it says worship involving baptism. And this is what really struck me. Partaking of bread with wine. As a sacrificial blood. Held Sunday sacred, and Mithras was born December 25th. Now, you can say, yeah, that's an add-on, this and this right here. Yeah, but this isn't in there. This is not an add-on. That's in there. That's in the so-called New Testament. Take this bread, doesn't he say that? Eat this, my body. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and broke it and gave it to the disciples and said, take and eat, this is my blood. Look, I'm looking at things for what I read them with my eyes. And I'm like, what are you saying, bro? You see, before, when I did not know that had any connection with any paganistic concept, then I'm like, I took it for what it was worth. But now that I understand that, hold on a second, breaking your bread and eating wine, it was not, that shit is paganistic, Mithra concept. I'm telling you right now. Let me see if I can find a better one. There's a lot of breads here. We're going to go to the new right here. I could probably find it quicker. But the point being is that this is not new. Like, it wasn't like the Messiah said it for the first time. This is a pagan practice of breaking the bread, eating the wine, eating the bread, drinking the wine as a metaphor of drinking blood. For John, Luke 7:37, for John the Baptist came neither eating bread nor drinking wine. I mean, that's not what I'm looking for, but do you guys get the point? And you have to ask yourself that stuff. First of all, baptism is not in the Old Testament. It's only in the new one. And then we read here that it says that wine and breaking bread, and it's like a sacrificial concept of blood, was like a Mithra practice. Fine. Exclude the December 25th, BS, and then the whole born of a virgin. But that shit right there, what do you mean, bro? Okay, fine. The Sunday concept, yeah, but you want to know something that's pretty weird. Called themselves brothers and were led by a priest called Father Pater, Peter. The symbol of the Father were a staff, a hook, sword, or a ring, and a hat. These similarities frightened the early Christian leaders that almost 500 years before the arrival of Christ, all of the Christian mysteries were already known. To combat this, Christian writers said that the devil knew that the coming of Christ in advance and had imitated them before they existed in order to denigrate them. As Christianity gained strength and became the formal religion of the Roman Empire, the cult of Mithra was one of the first pagan cults to come under attack in the 5th century. Temples of Mithra, like other pagan temples, were destroyed and the church that built them up. I mean, come on, man. It says it here once again, the newadvent.org. It says that the first 4 historical books of the New Testament are supplied with titles, which, however ancient, do not go back to their respective authors of the sacred writings. So how can we trust these people when we see that within these testaments that these people put together have concept of Mithra? The description that Mithra involves partaking of bread marked with a cross and wine as sacrificial blood is not entirely accurate, blah, blah, blah. We just read it right fucking now.
Who are you?
You can't just ignore stuff like that. And of course they're going to say that because, people don't read. They don't want to read. They don't want to go further into this. So then I'm like, wait a minute, breaking bread. And I remember I did do it. I'm like, now I'm a little worried for myself. This is from a book of The Old Truth in New Light and an earnest endeavor to reconcile material science with spiritual science and with scripture. 1876. We're going to start reading from page... Here, let me show you this real quick. A cross, the emblem of regeneration. Now, that's another thing. The cross, this is nuts. The cross is pagan. Matter of fact, let me just take you through the first major point that I'm trying to make here, and then you can go back. Here, let's start off at page 378. We know that the allegories of baptism in its various forms is a very ancient rite and has been practiced in several Oriental countries. It was administered in a great variety of forms and with the use of different elements. Water was always the most common, but fire and air, wind, spirit, and ghost were also used. And both the living and the dead were made subject of the solemn and imposing ceremonies. Baptism by water is a very old rite being practiced by the followers of Zoroaster. We see that when John, right? When John baptized, so-called John baptized, I guess, Jesus, right? He comes in and he dips them in water, right? But check this out. This is where it gets interesting. By the Romans too, the Egyptians and other nations, it was also in vogue amongst the ancient Hindus at still earlier dates. Their mode of administering it was to dip the candidate for immersion 3 times in the watery element, in the same manner that is now administered by some of the Christian sects. During the performance, which the ceremony of Hierophants would ejaculate the following prayer. Ejaculate, that's crazy. Oh Lord, this man is pure, like the mud of the stream. But do thou cleanse and deliver his soul from sin as waters cleanse his body. They believe that water possessed the virtue of purifying both the body and the soul, and the latter for impurity and former from sins. But they were not aware that the water itself is but an emblem, right? So-called concept. Here's where it gets even more interesting. What is a master key is furnished by these Oriental religions for solving the mystery of this Christian ceremony. Among all nations from the very earliest period, water has been used as a species of religious sacrament, right? Because as it dipped from the clouds, it was observed to have the power of reviving the drooping nature and creating anew or regenerating, right? The whole vegetable kingdom in spring, it was here chosen as an emblem of spiritual regeneration and medium of baptism. I said water was the element of by means of which everything was born, again through the agency of Eros, dove, or divine. This is where it gets even more interesting. Several of the ancient religious orders had the legend of a dove or white pigeon descending at baptism, a counterpart of the Spirit of God descending in bodily shape like a dove and alighting on the head of Christ while being baptized by John in Jordan. This is what I was saying. Matthew 3:15 says, and Jesus answering said unto him, suffer it to be so, for thus it becometh us to fulfill all righteousness. And he suffered him. And Jesus, when he was baptized, went and straightway out of the water, and lo, the heavens were open and unto him, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and lightning upon him. That's right out of that whole concept. So we have the dove concept, baptism concept, descending concept, dipping in water concept, not just people making it up, like you're reading it in these texts, and at the same time I'm showing you that some of these texts are missing information. And I had to really come to the conclusion that this is what we're looking at. And we need to stop ignoring that this is what we're looking at. Because if we're ignoring that this is what we're looking at, then we're just a branch out of Christianity. We're no different than them. We just don't agree with everything they say, but hey, we agree with it. No. You got to rip all that shit apart. Let's see. Hence, it is reported of Polycarp, Semiramis, Caesar, and others that at death their souls or spirits were seen to leave the body in bodily shape like a dove to ascend to heaven. The divine love or eros. Says Higgins was supposed to be by the Oriental heathen to descend often in the form of dove to bless the candidate for baptism. You see this? And the dove stood for and represented amongst the Orientalists the second person of the Trinity, as it is said to do in the Gospel of the story of Christ. Gospel or God, good spell. Here's another concept. You know how we're over here talking about, those old pagan religions. Those pagan religions, they believe God and the mother and the son. Well, Christianity is telling you the same shit. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Will you guys ever think about that, when they talk about the Holy Spirit, or say wisdom is like a female? So the Holy Spirit is kind of like a female concept behind it, because it's wisdom. Holy Spirit is wisdom, right? And other things too, but predominantly that's what it means, wisdom. So it's like the Father, the woman, and the Son. It's the same concept. What I got tired of is literally looking at the same thing that I'm criticizing and I'm saying I'm not part of, but yet I'm part of it. We got the symbol of water, right? Some streams were supposed to have more efficacy than others with symbolic rites. Hence, nearly all religious nations had their holy rivers, holy water, sacred pools. The Hindus resorted to the holy Ganges, the Egyptians to the holy Nile, the Chaldeans, the Persians to the holy Euphrates, the Greeks to the holy lustrous waters, and the Jews, Christians to the holy river Jordan. If Jordan was not called holy, it was undoubtedly considered so, else why did Elisha order Naaman to wash 7 times in that stream instead of Damascus, which was much nearer and more accessible? See? The Christians had the sacred pool of Bethesda, and the Hindus had the Sahar. And then we get into the Trinity concept. And then the Trinity concept. I mean, unless we just want to be like everybody else. It says here the adoration, the three gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, becoming manifest to him, replied, "Learn, O devotee, that there is no real distinction between us." It's kind of like they took the concept of Jesus from the Druids and Vishnu or Krishna from the Hindus. That's where they got the whole concept of Jesus Christ. I'm not attacking anybody's belief, man. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. The concept, the triangle, hence the triangle was adopted by all ancient nations as a symbol of deity, embracing in terms the three stages of time, past, present, future. They were considered among all pagan nations as a chief of the mystical numbers because Aristotle remarks it contains within itself a beginning, a middle, and an end. Freemasonry concept, they believed in the Trinity as well. The number 3 is a big deal for them. So did the Talmud, all of this stuff. They all do. The Talmud believes in the Trinity. Of course they do. Got to consider what we're looking at. Let me see if I'm leaving anything out. Let me see if I'm leaving anything out. Nah, I don't believe so. I have this video to show you, family. It's a few minutes long. Just bear with me. Let's see if we can begin. Hopefully they don't tag me for it.
The forbidden history of Christianity. How a pagan emperor rewrote the Bible. What if everything you've been told of the origins of Christianity is a carefully constructed lie? What if the religion that has shaped Western civilization for nearly 2 millennia wasn't born from divine revelation, but from the political ambition of a Roman emperor who needed to save his crumbling empire? Today, we're diving into one of history's most explosive secrets, a story so controversial that it's been buried for over 1,700 years. This isn't your typical Sunday school lesson. We're talking about forbidden manuscripts, political conspiracies, and religious cover-ups that reach all the way to the highest levels of the Vatican. By the end of this investigation, you'll never look at Christianity the same way again. But before we go any further, let me be crystal clear about something. This isn't an attack on faith itself. Millions of people find genuine meaning, purpose, and moral guidance in Christian teachings. What we're examining today is the historical reality behind how those teachings came to be. Because when you follow the evidence, when you dig beneath centuries of carefully crafted narratives, what you discover is absolutely mind-blowing. So grab a coffee, settle in, and prepare to have your worldview challenged. Because what I'm about to reveal will shake you to your core. Picture this. It's the year 312 AD, and the Roman Empire is literally falling apart at the seams. Not from barbarian invasions or economic collapse, but from something far more dangerous. Religious chaos. Across the empire, hundreds of different religious groups are at each other's throats. Presbyterial factions are fighting over which gods to worship. Mystery cults are spreading like wildfire. The empire that once conquered the known world through military might is now being torn apart by competing beliefs. Enter Constantine I. He's just become emperor, and he's facing the biggest challenge any Roman leader has ever confronted. His empire isn't just politically divided, it's spiritually shattered. And Constantine realizes something that will change the course of human history. If he can't unite his people under one religious banner, his empire will crumble into dust. But here's where the story gets really interesting. Constantine wasn't some deeply spiritual leader who experienced a divine vision. He was a calculating politician who understood that religion could be the ultimate tool of control. What he did next was nothing short of genius, and it involved the most audacious act of historical manipulation ever attempted. Now, I need you to understand something crucial. The Christianity you know today didn't exist in Constantine's time, not even close. What existed was a chaotic mess of competing religious groups, each with their own sacred texts, their own deities, and their own version of the truth. Some worshipped Mithra, a Persian god who was supposedly born of a virgin and died for humanity's sins. Others followed Krishna, an Eastern savior figure whose name literally translates to Christ in Sanskrit. Still others adhered to Druidic traditions from the British Isles, worshipping a deity called Jesus. Sound familiar? It should, because Constantine was about to combine all of these into something completely new.
The year is 325 AD, and we find ourselves in the imperial palace in the city of Nicaea. Christians from all across the Roman Empire and beyond are gathering, the largest assembly of believers ever. Thousands of elders and ordinary Christians, and over 200 overseers, leaders of their communities, are coming together.
Some of them have scars, missing eyes, lame legs. These are visible reminders of recent persecutions. These people are called the confessors, those who have endured tortures and time as slaves in the Roman mines because of their faith. Some have come from the deserts, having spent their lives praying in the caves of Egypt. Others are coming from across the Mediterranean, North Africa, Anatolia, the Middle East, Spain, Gaul, and even from Persia and Scythia. That's today's Crimea and wider Ukraine.
They're all here to resolve particular theological disagreements. There have been other disputes in the past resolved by these kinds of gatherings, but this time it's different. The vast assembly all suddenly rise. The Roman Emperor Constantine enters in purple robes and gold and precious stones. This is the Council of Nicaea.
100 years ago, Christianity was just another religion among many throughout the Roman Empire. How on earth did we get here?
This gathering in the city of Bithynia would become the most consequential religious meeting in human history. But it wasn't a spiritual awakening. It was a political power play of staggering proportions. Picture the scene. Nearly 300 religious leaders from across the empire converging on this ancient city, each carrying scrolls and texts representing their particular beliefs. They brought with them over 2,000 different religious documents, 2,000, each representing different gods, different saviors, different versions of divine truth. The diversity was staggering. The conflict was inevitable. These weren't refined theologians debating subtle points of doctrine. These were rough, often uneducated religious leaders representing the masses, teaching a wild mixture of legends, paradoxes, and competing beliefs. They'd been at war with each other for decades, sometimes literally. And now Constantine expected them to somehow agree on a single, unified religion. The debates were fierce. Personal agendas clashed with cultural traditions. Eastern mysticism battled Western pragmatism. At one point, 53 different deities were actually put forward as candidates for the new unified religion. 53. Zeus was on the table, so was Mithra, to Horus from Egypt, Krishna from India, even local tribal gods that most of the empire had never heard of. But Constantine held the ultimate authority, and his decision would echo through history in ways that still shape our world today. After intense deliberation, he made a choice that was pure political genius. He decided to combine elements from multiple traditions. The British Druidic deity Jesus would be merged with the Eastern savior god Krishna. The result, Jesus Christ, a hybrid deity designed to appeal to both Western and Eastern factions of his empire. The vote was incredibly close. 161 presbyters approved the decision. 157 opposed it. That's right. The foundation of Christianity, as we know it, was decided by a margin of just 4 votes. 4 votes that would reshape human civilization. But Constantine wasn't finished. Creating a new deity was just the beginning. He needed a scripture to go with it. So he turned to his advisor, Eusebius, with an instruction that would have profound consequences. Search through all these religious texts and take whatever is good from each one. Combine the best elements into a single book that will serve as the foundation for our new religion. This wasn't divine inspiration. This was religious engineering on a massive scale. Eusebius and his team of scribes began the monumental task of weaving together myths, legends, and teachings from dozens of different traditions. They borrowed the virgin birth narrative from Mithraism. They adapted resurrection stories from Egyptian mythology. They incorporated moral teachings from Greek philosophy. They even lifted entire passages from Hindu epics and Persian apocalyptic literature. The result was the first compilation of what would eventually become the New Testament. 50 beautifully crafted copies were produced and distributed throughout the empire. But here's the crucial point that most people don't understand. These weren't historical accounts of actual events. They were carefully constructed narratives designed to serve Constantine's political purposes. And it worked. Brilliantly. The new religion provided the unity Constantine desperately needed. Different factions could see elements of their own beliefs reflected in the new scripture. Eastern followers recognized Krishna-like qualities in the new Christ figure. Western adherents found familiar druidic elements. The empire finally had a unifying force. But the story doesn't end there, because what Constantine created was just the beginning. Over the following centuries, the church would continue to modify, edit, and expand these texts to serve its evolving needs. The New Testament you might have on your shelf today bears little resemblance to those original 50 copies that Eusebius created. How do we know all this? Because the evidence has been hiding in plain sight for over a century. In 1859, a German scholar named Constantine Tischendorf made a discovery that shook the foundations of Christianity. Deep in a monastery on the Sinai Peninsula, he found something extraordinary. The oldest complete Bible known to exist. The Codex Sinaiticus, dating back to the 4th century, just decades after Constantine's council. What Tischendorf discovered was earth-shattering. This ancient Bible was dramatically different from modern versions. Key stories that form the backbone of Christian belief were simply missing. The resurrection of Jesus, not there in the original version of Mark's Gospel. The ascension into heaven, absent from the earliest manuscripts. The virgin birth, not mentioned in the oldest texts. Even more shocking, Tischendorf found evidence of massive editorial changes. Over 14,000 alterations between the ancient manuscript and modern New Testaments. 14,000. Entire passages had been added, removed, or completely rewritten. The Gospel of Luke had gained 10,000 additional words compared to its earliest version. 10,000 words that weren't there originally. This wasn't the work of scribal errors or innocent copying mistakes. These were deliberate, systematic changes made over centuries to transform Constantine's political creation into what we recognize as modern Christianity. The Church had essentially rewritten its own history, backdating later editions to make them appear original and divinely inspired. But here's where it gets really disturbing. The Church knew about these changes. They've always known. In fact, they've been actively involved in covering them up for over a millennium. In 1198, Pope Innocent III established what became known as the Vatican Secret Archives, restricting access to early Christian documents. In 1562, Pope Pius IV created the Index of Forbidden Books, systematically suppressing or altering early church records that contradicted official doctrine. Think about the implications of this. We're talking about an institution that has shaped the beliefs of billions of people, influenced wars, determined moral codes, and claimed divine authority, all while knowing that its foundational texts were essentially fabricated for political purposes. The evidence keeps mounting. Modern scholars have identified direct parallels between New Testament stories and earlier religious traditions. The Sermon on the Mount contains passages that are virtually identical to earlier Greek philosophical texts. The parables attributed to Jesus mirror stories from Hindu epics that predate Christianity by centuries. Even Paul's letters, considered foundational to Christian theology, contain direct quotes from Greek and Roman philosophers, presented as if they were original Christian insights. We're not talking about vague similarities or general themes. We're talking about word-for-word copying from earlier sources, rebranded and presented as divine revelation. It's the most successful act of intellectual appropriation in human history.
When you pay close attention to what it's actually saying, you would not be so offended. Because it's historically proven that's kind of the way it went. A lot of us, including myself, just, I don't know, man. I wasn't, I didn't want to, I don't know. Not that I didn't want to look, I don't know, man. Like, for some reason, I'm like, what the fuck? Let me consider this shit. Give me a moment. Where are you at? I'm looking for the word Jesus. Is this it? Let's see, hold on. That's one of them. Okay, this is what I wanted to look for. In the Freemason book encyclopedia I've showed you guys before, it also says something very interesting that is also in the books. But let's see if you see it. The Druids seek studiously for an oak tree, large and handsome, growing up with two principal arms in the form of a cross beside the main upright stem. If the two horizontal arms are not sufficiently adapted to the figure, they fasten a crossbeam to it. This tree they consecrate in this manner. Upon the right branch, they cut in the bark, in fair characters, the word Jesus, like the video was saying. Upon the middle of the upright stem, the word tamarisk. Upon the left branch, belanus. Over this, above the going off the arms, they cut the name of Tao under all the same repeated Tao. This tree so inscribed, they make their Kabbalah in the grove, cathedral, or summer church towards which they direct their faces with the offices of religion. But you see how they worship a cross? This happened before Christianity went through the cross concept. And this is what I mean. This occurred, and they always worshiped somebody like on a cross, and they named him Jesus, and then all of a sudden in the New Testament it's saying the same thing. It's like it's too many things, man. Maybe I'm wrong. The concept of a cross. The Druids seek, we see that there. Cross of Constantine. We see that too. Passion cross, the cross on which Jesus suffered crucifixion. It is the most common form of the cross. You see the sun rays in the back. They expected a cross. They have a cross. They believe in their cross. They carry their cross in their neck. They celebrate December 25th. They can't explain to you why. And now you understand why? Let's see if I have this. Yeah, this is from Judaism, I believe. This is from the book Judaism, page 181. The close affinity between the doctrines of the newly established Christian faith, as taught by the early missionaries, and the beliefs of Judaism will warrant the assertion of several writers that the followers of the doctrine of the old religion were without difficulty persuaded to embrace Christianity, meaning a lot of similarities. What were some of the things that they liked? Sorry about this. Me making that sounds, family. My throat's hurting me. The cross as a symbol was known to and revered by the Druids, and their mode of consecrating in an oak was first to fasten a cross beam upon it if the two main horizontal arms were not sufficiently prominent. Upon his right branch, they cut in the bark a fair character, the word Jesus. Come on. You got to start really thinking about what are we looking at here? Because we do see that here, right? Check it out. See? Take up his cross. Take up his cross. It's only in the New Testament too, by the way. John 19:19. And Pilate wrote a title and put it on his cross. Put it on the cross. And writing was Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus of Nazareth, King of Jews. See, and this is what I mean by certain words are just not all over the book. Baptism, and you would think they would be, right? Like baptism is only in the New Testament, not in the New or the Old. Just like cross, it's only in the New Testament. So you start kind of you don't start kind of like you start wondering like, okay, what does this mean? If this was already before, pagans were embracing the concept of a cross, embracing the concept of baptism, embracing the concept of dipping in water, embracing the concept of breaking bread and drinking wine, embracing the concept of all of those things. Like, what are we talking about here? What are we ignoring then? We're trying to say we ain't Christians and shit, but we sure as hell we sound like it, believing the lie.
A ver, que alguien me explique.
Are you?
Look, maybe I was wrong. Because then all of a sudden I kind of was like, okay, let me read this again. Wisdom of Solomon 16 and 5 says, but when the horrible fierceness of the beast came upon thee, and they were perished with stings of crooked serpents, thy wrath endured not forever, but they were troubled for a small season, that they might be admonished, having a sign of salvation, to put them in remembrance of the commandments of thy law. It's talking about the serpent concept, right? You know, when they get stung in Exodus, right? For he that turneth himself towards it was not saved by the thing that he saw, but by thee, that thou art the Savior. So they weren't cured because they looked at the bronze fucking serpent in Exodus, you know, that Moses was told to put. They were saved because of who put it there, right? They were saved because of who put it there. Now, I remember, was it Numbers 21, I think? And this is where I started kind of wondering about, okay, well, if there's missing information, I got to question certain things. Like questions that I've had before, right? Like in Numbers 21, it's talking about the bronze serpent, right? So people speak against God, yada, yada, yada. Let's start off in, let's say, verse 7. Therefore the people came to Moses and said, we have sinned, and for we have spoken against the Lord and against thee. Pray unto the Lord that he take away the serpents from us. And Moses prayed for the people. So here we see, you know, now they're like, oh, shoot, we got serpents on us. Sorry, please, tell God, sorry. Okay. So then, you know, and he's told to put a brass serpent. Verse 9. And Moses made a serpent of brass and put it upon a pole, and it came to pass that if a serpent had bitten any man, when he beheld the serpent of brass, he lived. But remember, keep in mind the verse before in Wisdom of Solomon, it was not because of the brass or the serpent itself. It's because of, you know, who made it, right? So, since Israelites tend to fall into idolatry often, and this is when it hit me. Okay. I go to I go to 2 Kings chapter 18, verse 1. You know, if you look at what it is, Hezekiah reigned in Judah. So he starts doing things that, you know, the Lord appreciates, right? So 2 Kings 18:3, and he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, according to all that David his father did. He removed the high places. Pay attention to this. He removed the high places and break the images and cut down the groves and break in pieces the brazen serpent that Moses had made. Now, why? Why? God said to make it. Remember in Wisdom of Solomon 16, it said that, you know, it wasn't cured because they looked at the damn pole, bro. It was because of me, darn it. Well, if you read, it says, for unto those days the children of Israel did burn incense to it. And he called it Nehushtan. So then people were worshiping this serpent, this brazen serpent, this image, this pole, right? This pole, so to speak, this tree. Now they weren't even worried about God himself. Now they were just like, adoring this fucking thing, this pole. You know what I'm saying? But if you recall, Wisdom of Solomon 16, that's why he does emphasize this in verse 5 and 7. In verse 7, he says, it says, verse 7, it says, Wisdom of Solomon 16:7, for he that turneth himself towards it was not saved by the thing that he saw, but by thee that art the savior of all. Okay. So here we're seeing that the people forgot about that shit. And they're just like, man, I'm worshiping this damn brazen serpent. Or I'm sorry. What is it called? Where are you at? Yeah, brazen serpent. Let me just say that. Brazen serpent. Okay, so now he has to destroy this thing because obviously now they're forgetting what the hell they're worshiping. Okay, so this is where things get interesting to me. So I'm like, okay, hold on a second. So Numbers 21 says, put it up. Kings 18 says, nah, bro, put that shit down. And the Lord is happy with that because y'all were calling him God Nehushtan. Okay. So then I'm thinking, okay, we have missing information, questioning like, what the fuck are we really reading? Okay. And then I'm reading this Old Testament now, and I'm like comparing certain things that I remember reading in the past. And then I'm looking at the New Testament and I go, wait, hold on a second, slow your roll, suckers. Hold on. If God was happy with the fact that this brazen serpent was destroyed because people were, worshiping the image of it now, right? Obviously, he wouldn't want that to come back again, correct? Like that would that's common sense. He wouldn't want that shit to come back. It makes sense. Okay, so then that's why this is where I got a little bit on the baffled side. John 3:14, it says, and as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up. This is where I was like, wait, hold on. Because in reality, now people are worshiping this image. Whether you believe what I say or not, they worship the cross. They put it around their neck. They put it in the image in front of their door, in front of their rooms. They go to buildings and bend their knees and worship it. That's literally what is occurring today. The same thing that in 2 Kings 18 was like, yo, destroy that shit, because they're going to start worshiping the image. They don't even know what the hell the point is anymore. Yet here we see that he would want to be that image again. This is where I started kind of wondering, like, hold on a second, man. If these people are not giving us the whole entire source, or like, I need to start wondering, like, what am I exactly reading then? I'm being honest with you guys, man. I'm not joking around, because I have to ask myself, if the Messiah is all wisdom, again, I'm not like, completely doubting or anything. I'm just putting things to perspective here. If he's all wisdom, all understanding, why would he want to be the image that was destroyed in 2 Kings 18? That's what I'm saying. In 2 Kings, that image was destroyed. And God was happy with that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, right here, like, yo, boom, done. You're done, bro. You're done. Never will you be called Nehushtan again. But then all of a sudden, all of a sudden, John 3:14, He's like, yo, I gotta be like that fucking same thing. No, why? As Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so the Son of Man must be lifted up. Why would you do that if it was destroyed in Second Kings? It wasn't good for us to have that. Obviously, we ended up worship. Well, the Israelites ended up worshiping that damn thing. I'm just, you know what I mean? I mean, come on, bro. When the video was going around saying that there's missing pieces in certain texts that are older, yes, like it's missing, man. It's missing a lot of shit. Like, look, the Gospel of John, verse 1 through 24. Okay, so basically, what it's saying is this part that every Christian loves to read, right? All of this right here, okay? Like all of this right here, okay? All of that is gone. Baptize thou then, if thou art not the Christ. Something to that effect. See this? How, what? What are we doing? Man, I'm not here to create a narrative, bro. At the beginning of, matter of fact, this brother once asked me this question, man, and I didn't answer you right. And you want to know something? I am so thankful that you asked me that question. I really am thankful, man. Because, at the end of the day, bro, this is what I'm about in this channel right here. In this channel, now I'll just skip this here. I'll say this part. Investigating biblical doctrines and destroying strongholds that are against the truth. Behold, I have made Ezekiel 3:8. Behold, I have made thy face strong against their face and thy forehead strong against their foreheads. That's what I do. And I do this walk in sincerity. I'm not trying to just create, havoc and shit. I'm literally just pointing out certain things that are just not they don't sit right with me as I'm exploring this book as well. So all of that is missing right there. That part right there bothered me a lot. That the whole verse 1 through 24 in the Gospel of John is missing. And then you keep going further. Wherever you see the purple, I marked, like all of that shit is just missing stuff. And everybody, not everybody knows, obviously not, but it is very clear that the people that are in power have formulated a good spell that they prefer. You see, here in the book of John, chapter 28, verse 32 through chapter 29, verse 39 are lost. Wow, man. This is where it gets really interesting. Let me show you something quick. It's this one here. Oh, my bad. Hold up. Hold on a second. I think it's here. I passed it. Okay, here goes. So I think I did. I get it. Hold on. Slow down, bro. Slow down. My bad, family. I'm trying to get this fast and then. It just doesn't do it when I'm telling it to do it. I think it's see, you can see there's just stuff missing. And there's one where I think I was supposed to point it out. I might have forgotten about it, to be honest with you. Yeah. I'll bring it up another time. No big deal. As you can see, if the text didn't come from them, and then the texts that are there have missing information, I'm just, being sincere. Have we forgotten something? Have we forgotten something? Anyways, I am going to be hold on, let me see if I got this here. I'm going to be showing you guys I mean, I brought up the Trinity concept a lot. I don't think that needs to be like constant reminder. What is clear is that a lot of within Christianity, like rosarios and the beads, prayers, all of that stuff, that's not Christian. That's old school. That's like pagan stuff. Everything basically is of that flavor, of that connection, of that spirit, of that walk, of that thinking, that process, that type of mentality, that type of doctrine. Pagan Addis and Christian Jesus, a super spurious connection. Yeah, you can say that. You can honestly say that. Let me see this. Well, I can't hear that. That is an interesting thing.
The pagan Addis and Christian Jesus.
Hold on.
A spurious connection? Recently, it has been popular to suggest in some circles that Christianity was influenced or even derived from.
I never listened to that, so I'm not going to put you guys through that misery in case it sucks. It could be good, but I didn't listen to it. Mysterious religions and Christianity. Many mystery religions arose during the Hellenistic period and continued into the Roman period until about the 5th century, when most pagan traditions in the Roman Empire were replaced by Christianity. They were replaced by Christianity, but the practices didn't necessarily disappear. And that's what we're talking about. Where, I do believe that, yeah, they prepped us for that shit. This is Addis of Phrygia, who I just mentioned earlier, right? The connection between the two, pagan Addis and Christians, and Jesus. Addis was born December 25th, the Virgin Nana. He was considered the savior who was slain for the salvation of mankind. His body as bread was eaten by his worshippers, just like how I showed you in the other link regarding Mithraism. In Mithraism, that was the practice. You break bread and drink wine, and that was the consecration of blood. Like real shit. His priests were eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven. He was both the divine son and the father. Total Christianity. On Black Friday, he was crucified on a tree. That's Judaism again, which his body blood ran down to redeem the earth. He descended into the underworld. After 3 days, Addis was resurrected on March 25th, as the tradition held that Jesus as the Most High God. Addis was represented as a man tied to a tree, at the foot of which was a lamb, and without a doubt also a man nailed to a tree. On March 22nd, the pine tree failed, and the effigy of God was affixed to it, thus being slain and hung on a tree. Shepherd boy does. So you guys see what I mean? So many similarities have. And again, look, again, this is from the Gospels of Gospels. This is from Catholic Encyclopedia. They tell you themselves that the Gospels basically come from good spell. And they remind us that the first four historical books of the New Testament are supplied with titles, which, however ancient, do not go back to the respective authors of the sacred writings. So basically, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were not written by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I guess you could call them, do it nowadays, ghostwriters. Was that what we're looking at? I mean, why would they? Let's say that they did give us a fake book. The fake New Testament. Let's say they did that. What would be the purpose? I believe, if that was really the case, it's because they still want to be the in-between. You know what I mean? That was always the fight. Being the in-between. That's what I think. But hey, what do I know? All right, fam. Again, I just wanted to see what you guys have to say about that. Put your comments out there. Let me know what you think. I thought I'd bring it out and just see what you guys have, what your perspective is on it. All right. So anyways, you guys have a good night. Appreciate your time. Make sure you like, and if you're new to this channel, subscribe. You'll find out this is an interesting channel. Hold on a second here real quick. What I try to do is just bring out truth as best as I can. Whoa, wait, calmado, as best as I can. But I'm not gonna make it long right now. I'm gonna just cut it short. Wanted to find something. I saw something earlier. I thought I could play it. Si no, pues mejor ya me voy, güey. Oh yeah, this one. All right, this is an old school jam. I don't know if you guys like it much, but you know what I'm saying. I usually don't play it, but I thought it would be a good thing. Have a good night, fam.
Entren, bienvenido a mi nido. No me tienen que pagar nada, yo los invito. Esto va por la casa, no me tienen que dejar propina. La receta de hoy es la especialidad de la cocina, carne cecina. Y pa' que aguanten el pico, un poco de yuca frita con mojito.
Do you have some Doritos?
No, yuca frita con mojito.
Do you have some Coca-Cola?
No, pero tengo vino perico. Y rapidito ese tipo me salió malcriadito.
Do you know who I am?
¿Cómo? ¿Que te llamas Juan?
Do you know who I am?
Que si yo me llamo Juan,
Yo convert Coca-Cola.
pues mira Juan, aquí lo que hay es cola, champán y chinita. Pero si quieres una notita, medalla es la cervecita.
I just want Coca-Cola.
Te dije que no me llamo Juan y que lo que hay es cola, champán. Y al rato ese prieto me dijo que se llamaba Puff Daddy y que él era el sugar daddy de todos los Mac Daddies. Me salió de atrás para adelante, bien bocón como altoparlante. Así que lo escupí con salsa picante y al instante se puso de pie. Y en una sentada le dije que tenía la lengua malcriada.
Do you know who I am?
Te dije que no me llamo Juan y ahí fue que lo crucé por la quijá. Entonces se fue a la pica, a las millas de Chaflán, con un chichón en la chola a lo Mamadou Thiam. Y yo lo perseguí por toda la San Sebastián hasta la calle del Cristo. Y ahí fue cuando me tiré el Sixto Escobar con el 1, 2 y el jab. Lo puse a volar como chiringa, lo puse a escupir agua de piringa por los pantalones. Empezó a botar azúcar negra por los calzones y hasta por las medias botando mojones. Mojones color verde oliva, sí, color verde oliva. Lo que caga la gente fina por comer platos de comida de 50 pesos para arriba. Hay un chorro de lechones, yo no soy lechón. Hay un chorro de jamones, yo no soy jamón. Aunque me ofrezcas 1 millón, yo te digo que no. Hay un chorro de mamones, hay un chorro de lechones, yo no soy lechón. Hay un chorro de jamones, yo no soy jamón. Si Pop Daddy me ofrece 1 millón, yo le digo que no. Hay un chorro de mamones. No te creas que porque mi raza es chiquita se quita. Si no donkeamos nos vamos en huirita. Y todos los gringos como tú se pueden ir con toy camarita por la garita. No tienen que hacer cita si ustedes son visita. 6 cheese y una sonrisita. Y pa' la playita, pa' los tiburones, pa' que te arranquen los tendones. Porque aquí en Puerto Rico somos los más jodones. Y después de eso Pop Daddy regresó a los New York. Un poco sato, menos hombre, con otro sobrenombre, P. Diddy, Mr. P. Diddy. Aquí está tu bibi, pa' que chupe un poco de leche borinqueña, pa' que lo pienses 2 veces antes de coger una leña, pa' que cuando vengas pa' acá no hagas mueca, no hagas seña. Esto te puede costar toda la greña. Así que si no quieres que te sacudan el tabique, piénsalo antes de meterte con un cacique. Esto no es Mozambique, esto es Puerto Rico. Aquí te das contra el seto, aquí todo el mundo usa peto. Aquí en Puerto Rico casi todo el mundo es molleto. Aquí aunque seas blanco eres prieto. Aquí hay respeto o te lo espeto. Aquí se respeta o se te espeta. Aquí se respeta o se te espeta. No me agites, no me hagas decir puñetas. Ya lo dije, mala mía, pero es que no voy con los gringos. Los tengo del tingo al tango y del tango al tingo. Y yo voy a mí aunque sean un chingo. Hay un chorro de lechones, yo no soy lechón. Hay un chorro de jamones, yo no soy jamón. Aunque me ofrezcas 1 millón, yo te digo que no. Hay un chorro de mamones, hay un chorro de lechones, yo no soy lechón. Hay un chorro de jamones, yo no soy jamón. Si Pop Daddy me ofrece 1 millón, yo le digo que no. Hay un chorro de mamones.
Man, these motherfuckers don't know who the fuck I am. Can't believe that shit, son. I got like 7 motherfucking platinum albums. Shit, and these motherfuckers don't know who the fuck I am. Damn dumbass Puerto Ricans. Motherfuckers don't watch MTV, nigga. Motherfuckers don't watch PET. I'm all over the motherfucking place, nigga. The only good thing these motherfucking spics have is the booties, man. These motherfucking women, dog. I remember when I was fucking that bitch, man. That shit, oh man, that ass was good. God damn.
Yeah, man. Oh, respect and love from the world, nigga. Show them. You nigga on a microphone. Can't I sit in number 15? Rock you in the studio. Bomba, claro.
¿De qué manera sufre el alma cuando alguien se va? No hay medicina que cure esa larga enfermedad. La vitamina de la vida en esta sociedad es tan divina que por nombre tiene libertad. Libérate de la mentira que está por llegar. Mide tu orgullo antes de empezar a hablar. Cierra la puerta a quien no merezca entrar, porque hay mucho que se fue y sueña con regresar. Hablemos en silencio y así no me mentirás. El poder de la palabra muere cuando hablan de más. No me fío de oraciones que se dicen por detrás. Si me miras a los ojos no te mentiré jamás. Que besar por besar es jugar por jugar. Y vivir sin amor es vivir sin amar. Solo queda la fe, solo queda soñar. Ponte de pie, ready para luchar. Some love, I can just smoke and there are some love them. I can just smoke and there are some love. I remember no fire, no burn. Rippy day. Cali with a farmer soul, yeah. ¿De cuánto tiempo hablamos cuando hablamos de querer? Si la mitad lo malgastamos solo en comprender. ¿De qué manera es más fácil aprender? Que nacemos para ganar y morimos al perder. No puedo dejar de animarte, que cuando te caigas debes levantarte. Llegué para contarte que no todo artista muere por su arte. Traigo el honor de un humano con valor que utiliza poesía para respirar mejor. Escribo prosa para vengar al amor y recuerda aquella rosa que tiraron al contenedor. ¿Dónde se quedó el amor? Hey, no voy a sit on no microphone forever and ever. Tell me, roll some love. I can just smoke and the light, some love them. I Rastafari my life, some love. I remember no fire, no burn. Rippy day. I live with a farmer soul, yeah. Reggae man, a farmer warrior day. Not a really thing. Yeah, man. Quien se piensa que la música es un juego, lo lleva claro, hermano. Desde España, international, bombo, clack, un nego. Not so really easy. No. Pure nigga on a microphone. Hey, tell us what. Tell us anything. Tell if I'm a Rasta feeling on my sin. Hey, more love.
Se ve tan mal cuando miras a otro lado, los fantasmas del pasado no se detendrán hasta verte derrumbado. Peores lo hemos pasado. Andaba a golpes con la tristeza, me aportó riqueza, me otorgó sabiduría, pues se dibujaba en todas mis piezas. Yo con alegría le daba color después. La aguja sigue girando, tiempo parece se burlar de mí. Dijo que sanaría esperando, pero creo que la espina aún sigue ahí. Con los dedos no voy palpando. Cierro los puños, escapa de aquí. Agonizando, no me espera el tiempo, no voy a esperar por ti.
Nuestras huellas en la orilla se han borrado por la marea. Si esas estrellas ya no brillan, las entiendo pa' que veas. Sea donde sea, bajo la tormenta o dentro de la odisea, donde arañas cubren el cielo de tela, los aviones nadan y los barcos vuelan. Hey, aunque parezca que va bien, no sabes bien si va mal. Besos que pueden doler, ojos que pueden matar. Tengo mi alma en el almacén encerrada, mi corazón está en huelga, mis sentimientos en ámbar. Gente, Calamala dijo que estaría presente. Fallaron como nunca, se fueron para siempre. Millones razones para vengarme, pero a veces duele más actuar indiferente.
Como no quieren ver ahogados, tenemos branquias y cerrados los bronquios como la mente de un guardia. Yo soy la montaña y vine con la cordillera. Más cojones que tu ganga tiene una madre soltera. Tú cúbrete que si suena mi tu. A mí lo tengo soldado fumando de su palulú. Ni un conjuro de grimorio me lo salva del velorio. Pa' tener pila valorio se matan vestidos de emporio. Y yo no quiero una pistola, estoy soñando que la vida que quería me llega a tiempo. Desde que yo la vi sola, loco ando. Vino a verme cuando el sol se estaba poniendo y se dejó una pluma y se perdió en la bruma. Nunca se despidió de mí, ey. Nunca se despidió de mí, ey.
Vivo en un mundo que parece roto y sé que no, porque todo es perfecto y lo debo plasmar. Me fumo un trocolor tras otro y lo veo todo otro color. Me siento libre porque vuelvo a conectar. Mi gente sufre y no lo puedo evitar, más que dándole consejos siempre desde la humildad. Es su camino hacia la fraternidad. Solo puedo que enseñarles a respetar y amar. Con esta bendición, como no voy a aprovechar los códigos que llegan, los tenemos que aceptar. Si me reencarné fue para ayudar y no para malgastar mi tiempo en beneficio del mal. En la unión nace la fuerza y eso nos hace juntar las ganas que siempre tuvimos para iluminar a la gente que se le ocurra y la malla armonizar. Vinimos para dar fuego a la que no nos va a quemar.
Arda y por dentro la llama, no puedo contener la ras. Churruscao el corazón, el armazón no puede llegar a pesarme más. Si abro la boca, tu tumba al suelo, me muelo a diario y sobrado de gas. Escupo ristas perfectas, baladas de versos eternos, no mueren jamás. Cuando acabe mi condena, me vi muy solo y perdido. Cada vez más negra la flema, más elegante el problema, pero planté cara a todos mis enemigos. Recuperé las ganas, las fuerzas y el garbo. Dedico requiems a mis diablos, que aquí estoy vivo de milagro. Delicadas flores crecieron entre los cardos. Me dicen bien, es más delgado que de costumbre. Será de tanto que he bailado en el alambre, que a tanta pena es mejor no ponerle nombre. Llevamos la música en vena, nuestra sangre.
Ical, hijo, abre los ojos. Tu cuerpo se queda con nosotros, pero tu espíritu debe seguir. Busca la luz. Aléjate de las sombras. Deja que nuestro dolor sea tu fuerza. Desde aquí iluminamos tu camino. Lucha como nosotros ante esta pena tan grande. Yo soy tú. Tú eres yo. La muerte que hoy nos separa, mañana volverá a unirnos. Eres libre, hijo.